Welcome back. Today we have a video on knowing your ship and knowing your role on your team. Both of these are important in order for you to be a good team member and help increase your win rate. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Tier 4 U.S. Destroyer Farragut. This is the Tech Tree Destroyer for the U.S. And taking a look at the stats here, this thing has the 3.8 min battery reload time. It's really fantastic for the tier. 10.2 kilometer range. The torpedoes have an 88-second reload time with a 5.5 kilometer range. And then the smoke consumable has 25-second consumable time and then 115 seconds, so nearly 2 minutes worth of dispersion. That's some great smoke. Taking a closer look at the main battery, this thing has 127 millimeter guns, has 5 of them with a 5% fire chance. Really strong ship or guns on the ship. And then the concealment is at 5.1. Now it's at this range because I have a concealment build, Mordov as the main commander, but then I have Bay and Swirsky as inspirations. Bay has the decrease detectability of a destroyer, and then Swirsky is decreasing the detectability of any ship. Now moving into the gameplay, we're going to have two different clips here. The first one's kind of ideal destroyer player, and the second one's kind of taking a look at what to do when things go wrong. So on this first one, we're on domination for north. We're starting just north of the sea spawn. We have two battleships with us, and we're going to talk about what a destroyer's job is once in the game. The rule number one is always protect your health. You will need to be alive. You're out there to spot ships for your enemy. You're out there to get caps and then kill destroyers. So rule number one, we're going to make sure that we stay safe. And then number two, we're going to get in the cap. If we're not capturing the cap, we at least need to be contesting it, making sure the enemy doesn't get it. And then the next one is we're going to be looking for enemy ships. Using twist and track indicator, we're going to have a rough idea of where the closest ship is to us, at least the direction. And then looking at the roster as we did at the beginning of the game, we know that there are two destroyers in this game on the enemy team, Fubuki and the Jaguar. If we're lucky, we're looking for the Jaguar because we can spot them at about the same time they'll spot us. The Fubuki would be able to outspot us based on most Japanese builds. So we're rolling into sea. We can see Twisted Track. There's someone just off to the southeast of where we are. And we're looking around, making sure we still have the support of our enemy battleships. We do there, and then let's just go ahead and get on the cap. Now, it's key, you don't have to be all the way in the middle. Just be in there enough to contest it. If you don't want to be spotted, hang around the edges. Just make sure that you're in there and making sure that your whole ship is in there so you can start accruing points. Right off the bat, we spot the Jaguar. With the Americans, start shooting as soon as you spot another destroyer. You should be able to win most gun battles. I'm going to go ahead and just throw some torpedoes out here just to be safe. Those are insurance torpedoes in case the guns aren't able to do the job. Midway through, we're realizing, okay, we're going to win this battle. Now we need to make sure that we're aware of where other ships are. Right there, that salvo came in from the south. Wasn't aware of the Pensacola down there, so we're going to smoke up immediately. Let's make sure that we're invisible, protect ourselves. Twist and track now indicates Pensacola is indeed the direction of the closest ship. Based on the available data we have, it's safe to assume that is a ship. Now you saw as soon as we popped smoke also, we hit reverse. If that Jaguar was going to throw torps, he was going to throw them in a direction that was ahead of us. So by backing up, we're just ensuring that we have a better chance of dodging torps that may have been put out there. So now, just in the waiting game, let's make sure we close out the cap. We see that the plane's over there, so we can assume the Pensacola is still hovering just on the other side of the island there. And then here in a second, we're going to back up just to see if we can possibly get spot. We see the shells fly over, and then he does get spotted. Now, before shooting our guns, we want to make sure we get back in the smoke so we don't get detected, and then go ahead and start firing your guns. Like I said, the Farragut has some really strong guns. Use them as much as possible, especially when you're undercover like this. And then since the Pensacola is charging in, we can utilize the torps a little bit better. And then just put them in his path or a little bit behind if you think they might hit the brakes. You don't always want to put it right on where the indicator says, but in the general area, it was always a good rule of thumb where you're this range. So here we come out of the smoke a little bit and we get spotted. A little bit of a mistake here. We get popped by one shell, but we're going to use the island now as a little bit of defense. And then right there, a shot we weren't expecting. The California, which had gone out there all the way on the east side and got in the flank, very nearly kills us, but we're able to escape. And at this point, we want to get back, regroup. Twist and track is indicating that California is the closest ship. So let's regroup, make sure we stay alive, and then support the rest of our team. So taking a look at the whole map now, the enemies went ahead and capped A. We have a destroyer on B, so we should be able to lock that up, and then we have locked up C. So once our team gets B, our primary goal is going to be making sure that that California doesn't come around the island and go cap C. So we're going to come in here just enough to support, check it out, and then eventually what we'll end up doing, we'll turn around, go back, play defense, and prevent that California from coming over. Overall, this is an ideal engagement for the destroyer. You know, you're out here, you don't want to be spotted too much, but use your guns, be smart, and make sure that you're there to support your team at all times. Alright, jumping into the second clip here. This one is similar. We have a domination game. We're started on the B cap, and there are two destroyers on the enemy team. Here early, we're going to spot the Acosta. Now, this game is going to be a good example of how to make the best of a situation where you perhaps have been a little too aggressive. But spotting the Acosta, we're going to have quite an advantage coming around the corner here. He doesn't know we're here. We're immediately going to start blasting him. We're contesting the cap while we're doing this, making sure they're not accruing any points. And then our whole goal is just to get him off the map so that we can now go ahead and start capping B. Looking at the rest of the map, the enemy team has abandoned A. And I didn't notice this during the gameplay, just kind of I was watching the playback. And it's probably something I should have noted earlier. But we kill the Acosta and we're immediately not spotted anymore. So now the goal is, let's sit here in the cap, let's make sure we get it closed off completely. And then looking around, you can see that there's a smoke plume just a little bit to the north. The roster kind of reveals here in a bit that the other destroyer is down to the south, so the only other option is for that to be the Emerald, based on what we know about the other ships. So we're going to sit here and we're going to try to set a trap here for the Ganget after the cap. Again, this is a good example of being a little too aggressive. So as we sit back here a little bit, finishing it off, we're going to kick it back into gear, and we're going to try to use this island as a jump off point for an ambush. Again, 5.5 kilometer range on the torp, so we have to get a little bit closer to enemy ships than you would with, say, like a Japanese destroyer. So we're going to slowly sneak up here, and we want to do our best to remain unspotted because we want that Ganget to come all the way around the corner and hopefully run into our torps. So we're going to move up, and then we notice that we have a cruiser here right by our side. He's going to start taking some fire from the enemies off to the east, and we want to slow down just a little bit just to get a little separation from him. So once we get a little bit more spread out, we're slowly just moving up still with that ambush in mind. And the battleship's slowly starting to come around the corner, so we're thinking, okay, we're getting close to being able to do this, but we want to go ahead and get close to the island, and we're going to turn back towards the east, and then hopefully lay some torps out. And then it's at this point we realize the Emerald is still there. We've overcommitted, we're in trouble, and now we got to figure out what to do. So rule number one, let's go ahead, in this situation, we're going to do as much damage as possible. Switch over to the AP and start putting shells into the side of the Emerald. You want to be aiming at midship, right at the waterline to get those Citadel hits. And then at this point, we know we're going to die here shortly. So let's get some torpedoes off as some last ditch moves and just do as much damage as we can on our way out. Overall, this was a poor decision on my part. Fortunately, our team did have all three caps, and we went on and got the win. But hopefully it's a good example of what to do when you're in trouble. If you liked what you saw, please let me know. Leave some comments below. Hit subscribe, and we'll have more for you later. Thanks.